So without further ado, we're going to get started. For anybody who is joining, hi, I'm Dana. We're going to be talking through everything for fall planning today and choosing your own adventure. For those of you who missed my opening little joke, because Dylan is on vacation, so I feel like I have to step it up for Dylan. The bananas and my banana dress, very much inspired by Gwen Stefani in Hollaback Girl. This is bananas, and we're here to embrace the banana craziness. So have some ideas and sit back, relax, and get ready for our Sawyer social hour. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Great. Give me a thumbs up if you can see. Awesome. All right. So our agenda today, we're going to do a little bit of a welcome and reflection about what to think about as you're heading into this fall season, some features to consider. Normally we would go through and answer questions about these features. Today, for the sake of time, I really just want to launch them, show you what we're thinking through, and then I promise in our follow-up message and recording on Monday, we'll have step-by-step instructions, ways to consider using these Sawyer tools, features, but we don't have enough time to really go through it. But if you have questions throughout, make sure to ask Ariana. She is there in the chat room. Reagan, our amazing account manager, is here as well. And then Diana, our general manager of our consumer marketplace. So everybody is here ready and exciting to support you for fall. And we're going to really make this about you in the breakout room discussions, talking through how are you approaching your fall curriculum, what options are you thinking through, and then from a marketing strategy, what have you seen success with summer, and how do you take that into fall and really grow your business? And we're going to do a quick little wrap up with some materials that we're going to share afterwards. So in the spirit of back to school, I prompted the team to send me their school photos. And what I would say for all of you to keep this fun going, if you have access to your elementary school, high school photo, and you feel like sharing it in our Facebook provider group, please do. I think it brings such joy to see all of the flashback outfits and some amazing fashion choices that our parents or us as teenagers made for ourselves. This is little Dana. I'm Director of Provider Experience here at Sawyer, and I feel like this outfit is very much like my mom's idea. It was the 80s, and just, it's a lot going on. There were zippers of multiple colors, full overalls. We could talk about it later. But please feel free to share funny stories about first day of school, some photos in our Facebook chat. We would love to see all of you. Then next we have our Ask Anything chat room featuring Ariana Milligan, our product marketing specialist. Ariana works closely with me and the accounts team to make sure that our Help Center articles about our features and how we talk about all of our provider stories and unique journeys that you're going through. So she is here, and this is an adorable, and for those of you who have met her in person, she would definitely wear an outfit like this today. So I feel like she has very much continued on this fashionista lifestyle into her adulthood today. Next, we have Reagan, who literally looks the same. If you look at Reagan's face, it is this little adorable face. Reagan is our account manager. She is going to be helping with the breakout rooms and just general chat questions that you have throughout today's webinar. Followed by Diana Chen. I mean, do you not die for this sailor outfit bowl cut situation? It is remarkable. She is our GM of our consumer marketplace. So questions about our marketplace. She does a wonderful job really being the other side of the coin of what I work on. So I talk to providers a lot. She talks about to our consumers about how do we make our product really delightful and easy to use on the parent side. So without further ado, it's time for Sawyer Social Hour. Sit back, take a deep breath, and get ready for September. So in the chat room right now, we're live. Sharing is caring. So one thing or two things that I would love for you to share. Tell us who you are, where you're kind of dialing in from or chatting with us from. What's a decision that you made that turned into a great achievement? And how have you been surprising and delighting families this summer? So if you are running programming and there's like a breakout moment that you're like, you know what, like I did that, share it, because I think that this quote really resonates with me. Every great achievement starts with the decision to try and the confidence to act. You all have done this. When we spoke in March, there was a lot of uncertainty about how long this would last and what is the future and state of this industry and so many industries. And you all made a decision at the time to either close, go remote, focus on what could you do to support families at that time, or what made the most sense for you as business owners. And you had confidence to act on it. And was it perfect? Absolutely not. But did you learn from it? Yes. And we're continuing that learning into fall to be able to support parents where they are. So let us know what is the decision you made and how have you been surprising and delighting families this summer. We'll be sharing that afterwards. So please feel free. I always love reading some of the amazing things that you feel really that you can celebrate, because so much of how everyone is feeling is overwhelmed and burnt out on decision making. Please know that decisions are important to be able to achieve great things. So it's a really important step that you have to make, even if it's exhausting and even if it feels like I just did this for summer. Why do I have to do this again for fall? I hear you. I understand the sentiment, but know that it's going to make great things, right? So how do we support choices this summer? Internally, I've been feeling very much like this fall is a choose your own adventure book. For those of you who have never experienced a choose your own adventure book, it was very much like a thing of my childhood, especially like the late 80s, early 90s, where it was like, turn the page if you want to, explore the river. Even like the Oregon Trail, that video game or that computer game where you would like, do you want to, go at a grueling pace? There were these decision-making games and books that we were kind of raised with. And so think of this time as a choose your own adventure book, but instead of feeling in uncertainty and kind of feeding into how parents are feeling at the moment, make sure that you're thinking and approaching this with curiosity, right? I know it's hard to do when things feel uncertain. It's very easy to go into this downward spiral of like, what does that mean and how long and am I going to be able to survive? So think about it in a flip side of, okay, people are choosing their own adventure. And all I have to do is figure out a way that their fall adventure includes me and my business, right? So how do you do that? You do that by giving thoughtful and easy choices for parents. They are overwhelmed. If you are not a parent yourself and you have not spoken with parent friends, do that immediately. You have to understand the mentality of our customer base in order to provide really great service, right? So by understanding how they're approaching the decision making, they're thinking through how they're feeling, that allows you to give thoughtful and easy choices for them. Sometimes as providers, we give too many options. We overcomplicate things for no reason. And so if you look at your schedule and you're just like, whoa, I have 10 different pricing configurations and like they can sign up for this day and this day or these hours and these hours, simplify it. Take a look at it and keep it simple, because that will go a long way. Consistency is key as parents are trying to figure out what is the optimal schedule that works for them and their children. And the biggest thing that you can contribute to this is, what service are you offering to families and why is it important for them to factor you in to this choose your own adventure style, right? Why do you fit into the small group learning? And we'll talk a little bit next about the playbook that parents are kind of looking at, but make sure that you really understand, what are you trying to accomplish this fall? What is the service that you're offering and why should a parent consider you, right? So what are the things that are on this fall playbook? And there's a lot of buzz. If you belong to any of the parent groups out there, it's overwhelming. I feel for so many people at this time. I know like industries are hit hard. Parents are navigating. Do they just stay home? What does that look like for their careers? How can they afford, care? What does school look like? Will school even happen, even if they say it happens, right? So all of these things are going on in the conversation. So the kind of four things that people are really looking at are this hybrid model, right? And that's what most schools are really exploring. This in-person remote learning, whether a parent feels comfortable being remote fully, or they do this in-school, out-of-school session based on cohorts. So the idea that like there's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday group and a Tuesday, Thursday group, or they switch it up based on, certain number of weeks. That's all being talked about with schools. So how can you support that type of learning? Small group learning pods. I mean, if I hear about learning pods one more time, the reality is it's a very real thing that is happening. Parents are trying to organize groups either within their communities, within their schools, within their friend groups, and figure out how to do in-person or virtual instruction with a teacher. So it's essentially small group learning is the way to think about that. There's also private instruction. So this is really important for those of you who are thinking through tutoring ways to support parents at this time. Maybe they're going to school, but their child needs a little extra hands-on, or you run a really amazing music program, art studio, theater, performance, vocal coach, where you can do one-on-one instruction and charge a premium for it, right? So we have our appointments feature that we're going to talk about a little bit. And the reason we launched it when we did, we've known that people are doing one-to-one private bookings, but this is really a critical time for families that may want a little bit more one-on-one instruction time, and being able to offer that for your business if it makes sense. And then the other thing is the at-home learning. And you should all feel very comfortable with this because you've been doing it essentially since March, right? So this is like for the younger kids, the non-school age kids, or families that are really choosing to do most of their educating at home this year. That could be homeschooling with a combination of virtual classes, some pre-recorded content, and then materials and kits to support the work that parents are trying to do at home. The one thing to note about this especially is think about yourselves as the elective courses that a parent can choose, right? If their child is, even if they're back in school and able to do an in-person learning, if you're able to provide blocks of time where they could essentially have their, art special, or their music special, or their, gym time with you as a provider, that's really critical and key. So thinking about yourselves as like those elective courses, ways that you fit in with your local school schedule, and thinking about those ways of supporting people that's beyond what you normally would offer at this time. All right. The biggest thing that I can express is that education should be for everyone. We know that there are, in many of these conversations of private education and learning pods, that there is this element of not everybody is part of that and not everybody can afford to do that. So make sure that you, in whatever capacity, can support all types of children. Education should be for everyone. Why we got into this industry is to be able to help and support families and provide a really amazing service. So provide that delightful service, help parents through their tough decision making, and make sure you have something for as many audiences as you possibly can. So if you're able to do maybe one free class or a free class every other week, just to encourage more families to get some sort of, extracurricular activity if they can't afford it on their own. How can you participate with or offer scholarships to children within, what's realistic for you and your business? And how can you really work with schools to figure out how do you get that audience to learn about your programming and offer your service outside of your existing customer base? So like I said, families are overwhelmed. So the more you can do to make the choices easy and simple to navigate, and knowing your core audience, the reality is you're not going to get an influx of brand new people choosing your business from August to September. You always know this, right? For those of you who have run camps before, the kind of retention from summer camp to fall takes a little bit of time as parents are getting back into the school groove. There's always those last minute enrollments. So your program really does grow from September to October. And I think that will, especially while people are waiting for kind of the results of what our school is going to be doing in your area, that's very much something that, parents are unsure of. So make sure, thinking about the core audience that you have today coming to your camps or that you had in March, where are they? What are they going to be doing? And how do you get as many of them to stick with you in some capacity so that you're not starting over after the semester is over? So again, if you don't know that core audience, talk to them. A lot of people are sending out surveys. I know in summertime we talked a lot about surveys. If you are sending a survey, just know that every other brand under the sun is asking parents questions right now, and no one can answer reliably. So keep that in mind and keep it as focused as possible on the things that you're really thinking through if you're unable to make a thoughtful decision. And think outside the box, right? So one of the biggest things that we've seen providers doing across the country is exploring the great outdoors. So if you are a provider that runs a program for an age group that makes sense to do outdoor instruction, you can contact your local Parks and Recs department, see what the permitting options are, what licensing, or talk to your insurance carrier to make sure that you're covered from an insurance perspective so that you know if you're going to be bringing children outside, what does that look like? What do you have to think about from a risk perspective? And it may not be suitable for every type of provider. So just know if you can, it's something to consider, especially when the weather is still okay through September and October and November. Once it starts to get a little colder, that might not be an issue, or that might not be an option for some families and for your area. But if you're a provider that is somewhere really warm and nice all year round, that's definitely something to consider. And then something that I think a lot of people are already talking to me about is these learning kits and materials that you can offer to extend the fun. Right now, we don't have necessarily the best solution in Sawyer, but we can start to, if you're thinking through this, let us know so that we can understand how it's working and how to support you through this. I know, shout out to a lot of our art studios who are doing this seamlessly and beautifully and keeping that organized throughout the summer with add-ons. But that's a way that you can offer material kits and kind of these extension kits for people that are learning at home. The other thing to think about is keeping weekly camps going through September. So you don't have to call it camp. It's just a scheduling type in Sawyer Tools. Why it's great is because it allows you to do that weekly block. And you can do this with semesters too. But with the camps feature, it really allows you to have like a number of weeks of camp, but a parent can buy full weeks at a time. So that's one way of thinking through. If it's working right now in, August, you could potentially consider doing something like that, maybe in the afternoon, or considering them more after school camps to fit in with parents' school schedules if they are going back into the classroom. Okay. And then finally, an adventure guide for parents. So we talked about choosing your own adventure. So I challenge you as providers to really think about what is your fall adventure guide for parents? What is your fall adventure guide for schools and local PTA groups? If you do not already have a school relationship, reach out. If you're thinking about how can you support educators at this time, how can you support your local schools, public schools, private schools, and charter schools, how can you be a plug and play option for after school programming, whether it's virtual or an in-person option in your space? Think about that. The other thing that I hear from a lot of providers is working with other businesses. So if you have families that, work at larger corporations, sometimes there's a budget for people to do childcare, extracurricular activities. So explore that. If you feel like you have something to offer and you can do, like, even for adults, like a paint night for parents of a specific business, by having like a digital menu booklet, right? And we think about menus very much like around, or like a menu of services for other service industries like spas, like restaurants. We should think about it for our industry as well, because in order for people to know what you offer and like the pricing and what makes sense for them, they need to be able to really understand and look at all of the options in front of them and how it fits in. So if you don't do this already, make sure to start thinking about like how to lay out very clearly your options as it relates to the upcoming school year. What does it look like? Who is it right for? So if you say this is perfect for families who are doing small group learning, here are the days that I offer it and here's the price. That's a really easy way for a parent to go, oh my God, that totally fits in my schedule. Let me book that with that provider. Same thing, if you're working with a business, show them your menu of options that you can offer for a corporate partnership, right? So if you're thinking through these things, start to figure out, if you have somebody on your team who's a really great graphic designer, you can spin up a PowerPoint really easily like I'm doing today. You can use Canva for like templated presentations so that you can have something really nicely designed to be able to send out to families. The other thing is thoughtfully raise prices. Raise prices. It's time. This is no longer a testing phase. So a lot of people ask me, well, what is the right price? How do I figure out what price to charge? You shouldn't ever be looking at pricing beyond like your immediate competition, right? But keep in mind that it ultimately comes down to what does it cost you to run a program and what is the profit margin that you're really hoping to hit for this class. It's not always about, making a ton of money, but I know many of you have been kind of treating summer as like a testing ground and a way to just keep your employees and pay some of your labor costs. Keep in mind now it's time to really treat this as the option for education, right? You've done all of the testing. You really know what works and what doesn't work. And you've gotten that feedback from parents over the course of almost 5 months. So know that you can charge a little bit more as we head into fall, and do it thoughtfully and gradually. So maybe you increase your drop-in price. Maybe you increase, like you reward people for buying more upfront, but the a la carte options that offer the most flexibility, you have to charge a little bit more, knowing that your cost is going up for Zoom. You may not have to be buying supplies all the time, but if you are, anything that's like single, package supplies for kids, that all costs a little bit more from a shipping perspective. So all of it has to be figured into the kind of calculation. We have some really great blog posts that we'll share on how to calculate profit margins and what to kind of consider. But know that that is really important. And then finally, if you do not have a clear path on your website, then that's the first place that you should start, right? If you have not done an audit of your website, if it's not clear for a parent to find what they're looking for, if you don't have like a pop-up that explains like that you're closed due to COVID or how you're handling safety measures at this time, please consider doing that. It's really, really important to make sure that your online presence is as accurate and reflective of what you are hopefully offering for fall. So make sure to do an audit if you haven't done one in a while. I always recommend like ping one or two of your friends who may or may not know about your business and just have them explore and see if they can find information really easily. It should ideally take like 3 to 4 clicks to essentially get to what a parent is looking for. So we're here to help. Email support@highsawyer.com or support@sawyertools.com to make sure that we can provide some guidance and advice on widget tagging and other ways to flexibly set up your schedule. Whew, that's a lot. And I talked very quickly. So type into the chat if you have any questions. Ariana is there. Again, I want to make sure that we have enough time to give thoughtful kind of questions and answers in our Q&A breakout room sections. But want to dive into our key features for fall. Again, I promise we'll be sending like step-by-step follow-up probably on Monday with this video recording, so you'll be able to hear and play back all of the things that I just ran through very quickly. And also these key features for fall, how to use them will be, we have a ton of Help Center articles on all of these features. It's nothing totally brand new other than appointments, but just some new ways to think about how to set up your fall schedule for success. First, new appointments. If you have not looked at it, I encourage you to do so. It's just found right under schedules. It's just a new booking type. So under semesters and camps, you'll now see appointments. We talked a little bit about the why of appointments. Why is this the kind of the great time to test it? It really allows you to offer a premium service for parents to book time with one of your individual instructors. And it offers this personalized instruction for one of their favorite teachers. So it really is about showcasing your teachers, giving them the ability to hopefully bring on a little bit more money for themselves and for you if there's demand and interest from parents that want to book private instruction, especially for you music studios and art studios and theater performance studios out there, or even like, actually this really could work for anything that I'm thinking about, like gymnastics, you could do private instruction that way. So whatever kind of makes sense for you, think about it, think outside the box. And if you need ideas, type into our Facebook group or in our chat now, and we'll be sure to kind of think through what are some ways that you can do this. And for those of you who do offer appointments already, like Talk, shout out to my friend Ara at Talk. If you have questions, they were one of our first providers to kind of adopt the feature and are already testing it out. We're continuing to add a couple new features to this list. So as we continue to develop it, we'll be sure to let everybody know. But where we get feedback is from providers like you using it and testing it. So please, if you haven't already, explore it. Don't be afraid. It's a really great new way to kind of book a different type of service at your facility. Next, this is from my friend Elisa at Treasure Trunk. This is already an existing feature that many of you use, but I just want to talk through another way of using it to support kind of pod learning. This is kind of our party or private event request, and you can change the name of it on your widget. So email us and we can give you some options for what you can rename it as. A lot of people call it private event or request form, where this is really, it's found under parties. It's merchandise packages that you can offer that a parent can fill out a request form for a small group. So if you're doing like pod groups or small group learning or private online classes like Elisa has here, definitely consider using our parties feature for this. Basically, it offers a way for parents to show that they're interested in a specific day and time, and then you handle the booking process through our platform. So you can go through and email the parent with what you have, any package information. Again, this is where that adventure guide really comes into play, because you'll have something to be able to send to them and say, here's our menu of offerings, let us know what you like. There is a little bit more of a hands-on touch point here, but it is something that if you are considering that pod learning for the school year, this is a great feature to kind of test and use. And you'll see here, up here, acquire about a package, this general inquiry button will automatically show up as well, so that people can click learn more, fill out the form, or they could just submit a general inquiry if they're looking for something specific that you don't have necessarily merchandised on here. So that's a really great way to think about ways that you can support pod learning in the fall. our multi-day activities. Now, multi-day we rolled out probably last fall or summer before last fall. It's a really great feature. It's make sure to activate it under your settings. You're going to toggle multi-day settings. It's going to look like this. And then when you're scheduling, normally you'll see single day in the drop down. Just change that to multi-day. And what this allows you to do is you have a couple of options with days of the week where you can require a minimum number of booking days. And you can also put what days of the week are you running this program. Each day of the week can have the same time with this feature, or you can have different start and end times. And all of our pricing configuration, all of the monthly installments, all of the kind of robust pricing options apply to multi-day activities. So this is really a great feature for those of you who already run a pretty robust after-school program and want to test something like that for fall. This is really great to kind of support that hybrid learning that we talked about of like, what is the in-person, couple of days a week versus the virtual options a couple of days per week. So think about the multi-day settings if you haven't already. And again, our support team is here to be able to give you some advice of how to use it, what is kind of the best use case for it, and what are the features to be mindful of with here. The other thing just to note is back when I was talking about like website, your website is really important to make sure is accurate and up to date. And the other thing that's really important is, Googling, people are Googling your business, right? So if you haven't already, make sure to claim your Google My Business account. It's very easy to set up, and we're going to have set up instructions that we'll send in our follow-up. But basically what this allows you to do, and they've really released this new gift cards page or donations page where you can highlight here that you have gift cards as an option. So if you already have your gift card page set up in Sawyer Tools, and if you don't, it's just located under products, under gift cards. It's a nice way for you to be able to have parents be able to show support through buying gift cards, especially as the holidays come up or as they want to share the love with a friend. They can buy a gift card to keep you kind of going and show support to a small business. So Google's doing a lot with this right now and being able to support which providers offer gift cards. And then in general, as people are searching, and COVID times especially, people are searching like in-person kids classes in this area or virtual classes. I can't tell you how many moms group chats I see of just parents asking like, where do I go for this? And so know that Google is one of those places that they are asking. So if you claim your business account, you can put any announcements about your COVID alerts, any messaging that you want parents to see, or new customers that are searching Google for your brand and business. But just know that we're here to help. We are here to continue on with this with you. And I'm sure we'll be doing more of these webinars as we head back into the fall. And hopefully you all won't be zoomed out at that point. But if there's topics that you have in mind and, kind of want us to do something specific, let us know. Like, the more that we know what you want to hear from us about, the better these can be. And we'll send the recording and the follow-up materials by Monday. So stay tuned. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week and a wonderful weekend. And thank you again for joining. Bye, everyone.